Let's get ready to rumble!
On the 27th of July 2012, John Joe Finnegan went toe-to-toe against Lincoln boxer Ryan Clark in an International Masters title clash. John Joe, the shaven-headed super middleweight, was slightly ahead going into the 6th round.
I walked out, I threw a jab, it's come over the top of my jab with the left hook, caught me on the temple, mate, and I've gone over, mate, and the first thing actually I knew about the whole thing then was I woke up like 2.5 weeks later in a coma in Nottingham Hospital.
In a sport that is inherently dangerous, but loved by millions, what happens when it all goes wrong? Recent years have seen, to name a few, the likes of Nick Blackwell, Edward Guchnet, Mike Towell, Michael Norgrove and Kieran Farrell all suffer life-changing injuries, or even worse, death.
And you just wonder if he's in this state now, what he was running on in those latter stages.
Collapse to the floor. These aren't good signs, guys.
These are not good.
This doesn't look good.
Questions have once again resurfaced about the safety of the sport. One brain injury charity believes boxing should be banned. Luke Griggs is a director at Headway.
Well, Headway has long campaigned for boxing and mixed martial arts to be banned. The reality is that too many people are losing their lives or having significant life-changing brain injuries as a result of boxing. And every time you step in the ring, you are at risk of losing your life or sustaining a life-changing brain injury. And the question I'd ask is, how many sons or daughters of neurosurgeons do you see getting involved in boxing? I'd suggest the answer is very, very few.
I went to visit 37-year-old John Joe at his family home on the outskirts of Burton-on-Trent. That fateful summer evening 5 years ago left John Joe with a bleed on the brain. He's had to give up the sport he held so dear, leaving him to take on the biggest fight of his life so far, his recovery.
Basically, they took the side of my skull off to release the pressure of the blood because it was quite a massive blood clot and it was pushing my brain to the side of my skull, you see, which I'm blind the left side of both eyes now.
And how are you now with your recovery? Are you still recovering every day?
I think, Danny, to be honest with you, mate, yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. I'm literally, mate, I'm making progress week after week, mate, I am. But, like, I don't always see it, and I'll sort of sit here and think, I ain't getting no better now. And I'll say to my missus, like, she's been great with me, and I'll say to her, I think I'm there now, and she'll say, John, look, I see you every day. I said, I see something different. There's something new that's coming back to you, and you know, I mean, I'm even standing up and shadow boxing now and doing a bit of training, Danny. So that, I mean, I was in the gym the other day. I was curling like quite heavy weights, and I'm thinking, am I really doing this? And it felt quite good, to be fair. Yeah, like to be back in the gym and doing a little bit.
Some people may say that boxers know the risks, that they should expect to get hurt. But at Headway, they believe that boxers don't truly know the dangers.
We spoke to a family recently who are significantly affected and forevermore will be by brain injuries as a result of boxing. And the father of this individual who I spoke with said that he would question that. A lot of people say that they understand the risks, but they don't really want to accept them and they don't really want to believe it. It's a case of it will never happen to me, but sadly we're seeing far too often it does happen to people. We've seen so many incidents recently of people losing their lives or ending up in a coma like Nick Blackwell.
However, for John Joe and many other boxers, the sport often provides a way out.
It's literally, it has been my whole life, Danny. So I think looking at my life now, I think to myself, I mean, I look at a lot of my friends now that I went to school with, a lot of my good friends as well, and they're on drugs, mate, and they're in prison, and they're up to this and up to no good, or they've been in trouble, and I think to myself, well, if I never got involved with boxing, I probably would be locked up now myself.
That's something 36-year-old Midlands area lightweight champion Amir Unsworth also agrees with.
The positives outweigh the negatives by a lot. We all know boxing is a dangerous sport, but if done correctly and everything's all done right with coaches who know what they're doing, and the kids coming here for different reasons, whether they want to be boxers or they're getting bullied or they want confidence. This helps it for everything, every aspect of life.
The Annie Runsworth Boxing Academy was opened in Sleaford in 2015. The gym, which is found just off the Garden training estate, has around 20 to 30 kids and young people turn up regularly to sessions. All of the parents I spoke to only saw positives out of their kids pulling on some gloves.
Well, for Quinn, my older boy, he had leukemia when he was younger, and so his physical fitness and reactions and stuff weren't quite there. He was a bit behind where he wanted to be, so I bought him mainly for the fitness side, for the agility, try and build up on that kind of thing.
Generally speaking, she wanted to get involved in the fitness side of things, and it's developed from there, so now she really looks forward to learning the techniques of boxing as well as keeping fit, doing burpees, squats, bodyweight squats, that kind of stuff.
Just sort of give him a little bit of confidence booster, really, because sometimes he struggles at school, so it's just a bit of confidence.
But how are accidents like what happened to John Joe safeguarded against? The General Secretary of the Boxing Board of Control, Robert Smith, head of all things boxing in the UK, said they learn from what's happened in the past.
Some of the things have changed since then. As life goes on, hopefully you improve in everything you do. So the Boxing Board of Control work extremely hard to make this sport as safe as it possibly can, knowing the fact that you can never make it 100% safe because it's the nature of the beast. Is
that enough? Could more be done? Well, new head scanners were used for the first time by the British and Irish Boxing Authority 2 months back. The infra scanners are said to be able to detect bleeds on the brain. One ringside doctor, Dr. Maurice Mann, said scanners are important to catch the bleeds early.
Time is of the essence. People can have an insult to the brain, but it is the time delay and the longer the bleeding goes on that is where the damage can really be done.
One aspect that's rarely talked about, which is thought to contribute towards the likelihood of falling ill in the ring, is when boxers cut weight before the weigh-in. Boxers don sweatsuits, have multiple sauna sessions, wrap themselves up in blankets and towels, all to make sure they drop to the required weight 24 hours before the fight. Otherwise, they won't be allowed to box. Guardian boxing journalist Kevin Mitchell said fighters should learn from others' mistakes using this technique.
Making weight is the problem for fighters in light to middle ranges. History, you're asking about, do you feel bad when a fighter gets injured? Other fighters should look at that and say, well, how did that happen? And accidents happen, that you can't legislate for that, it's a dangerous sport, but weight is the key issue in boxing.
And cutting is something John Joe thinks has to be monitored better.
I was about to say to you, Danny, I don't really know what can be done in a way, but maybe as regards weight checking and making weight, maybe something can be done, I don't know, but lads have just got to be so careful that they're walking around at silly weights. I mean, say a middleweight spot is walking around at 13 stone and he's got to make 11 stone 6. Well, to take that weight off in 5, 6, 7 weeks, mate, whatever they're doing, and it's not long enough. Got to walk around a little bit close to your weight, really. That's in my opinion, anyway.
However, when it does go wrong, what support are fighters given? John Joe has been left scraping to make ends meet now that he is unable to work.
I mean, I've lost 4 years of work. I had a good job, Danny. I drove a nice car. As you see, I live in quite a nice house, which I've worked hard for. We've had days, mate, we haven't got money to go to the shop for a bottle of milk. It's that bad. And with 3 children, mate, that's heartbreaking, really, because they want things in the same. Mummy, Daddy, my friend's got a school. Can I have one of these? And Danny, before me, I'd said, of course you can. Let's go down the shop and we'll buy them. But I have to say to him now, girls, listen, we haven't got a lot of money at the minute, and it's heartbreaking, mate. That is to not give them what they want, sort of thing.
The Board of Control say though that boxers should arrange extra insurance as well as the standard one taken out through their boxing licence.
This policy is in place as a basic policy for them while they're boxing. However, they should contact an insurance company or our insurance company themselves and take out further cover. I've been telling them that for years. Not one person has done that themselves. And this is a professional business. They are professional sportsmen.
Arguably, one of the biggest boxing fights ever to take place happened only a matter of weeks ago in the Joshua versus Klitschko bout. And with millions tuning in, it's obvious boxing is adored across the globe, and still will be for years to come. Undoubtedly, others will dance with death, and maybe one of the unlucky ones to suffer a serious brain injury and follow in the footsteps of John Joe Finnegan. However, if boxing governing bodies continue to search for ways to improve the safety of the sport, then the number of boxers falling ill could be lowered. Yet, despite what's happened to John Joe and others like him, The love for the sport is still as strong as ever.
If I get back in there tomorrow, if my missus here, mate, she's battering for this, but if I get back in there tomorrow, Danny, I really would, mate. I would.
So what's this top one here?
That's the International Masters title belt there, Danny. I won that. Where was that? I won that one. I think I won that one in Nottingham. That was against a lad called James Tucker. Yeah, and that one there's my British Masters title belt, and that's I won that in Burton, mate. It was a real hard, grueling 10-round fight that was against a lad called Dean Walker from Sheffield. Yeah, so that's the two belts. Then pride and joy, mate, to be honest. Well, they're actually not mine now because my son he's 3 now. He said there is now. So
he's claimed them.
He's claimed them, mate. Yeah, bless him. Some good stuff in there, mate. Some good memories in there.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. It's nice to have memories, Danny, innit?
Definitely,
It is, mate. It is.
Definitely.